I'm excited. Because today we have a special concoction on our hands, a mixture of woke journalist salt and PlayStation fanboy salt and Sony salt. I mean, it's 3 different types of salt.
Well, either way, I'm gonna get high.
Mixed into one jar. Will you overdose? I don't know, I don't care. I'm making it for me. You guys can have some, I guess. It's experimental. You know exactly what I'm here to talk about. I mean, you've probably been absorbing the news all day, and that's the complete, utter failure of Concord. The only success this game has brought is success to news reporters and other people's YouTube channels who are covering it. There are more people watching a video explain to them why Concord sucks than there are people playing the game. A complete embarrassment for Sony. Now it all makes sense why Xbox is porting their games over there. They need them. I mean, they fumbled Helldivers 2. Foam Stars was a disaster. Forspoken was dead. Concord is dead. Whatever luck Sony does have, they manage to fumble all the time. So I welcome Xbox games going over to PlayStation. I mean, my God, Halo Infinite, anything but this, Sony. Nobody wants to play a game where the robot is gay and has pronouns.
Starting to grow mushrooms out my ass.
There's an image.
Or where there's a girl boss chick character.
Any questions?
Yeah, is there someone we can talk to? A man, perhaps?
I mean, I could tell you blatantly why the game failed. It's because it's woke. I don't know. What else am I supposed to tell you? Well, on top of being an Overwatch clone, of course. But its biggest problem is things like having to be marked as LGBTQ on the Steam tags on its page. Like, one of the highlights the developers had to this game was that it was woke. They really thought they could sell you on a game being explicitly woke, as if this lesson hasn't been taught to them multiple times by now, that if you go woke, you go broke. Well, the game was in early access, it had a beta, and both of those had a higher player count than its official release, which is sitting at 600 players. I cannot stress how big of a flop this is. I mean, anybody could see. The fact that Redfall had more people playing it at launch than Concord is a testament. There was more people playing anything you could think of. The only game out there to flop this hard is like Validate, the game by Danny Lalanders. The greatest success story of all time to this game is how hard it managed to flop. I mean, I honest to God feel they deserve a reward for flopping this hard. What was Sony thinking? No, seriously, what was Sony thinking? They took one look at this and really thought they had an Overwatch killer. And they said, let's go ahead and put that in our showcase. Let's promote it over and over again, to the point that they've now paid Insomniac to promote it on Twitter. I kid you not, check this out. Insomniac Games. We're playing at Concord with our friends on Ben Play. You know what this means? This means the majority of those people playing Concord are PlayStation first-party studio developers. They were probably contractually obligated to promote the poor thing. Ben Studios and Insomniac Studios. What's next? You're gonna have Naughty Dog playing Concord, Neil Druckmann coming out there, developing a character with a golf club. Ooh, what a flop. Absolutely abysmal failure. Sony's gonna have to have a showcase of some sort to make up for this. They really are. Because what else do they have this year other than a game from 20 plus years ago remade? They got nothing. They had Helldivers 2, and that was it. So they're gonna have to end off the year receiving Xbox titles. Ouch. That's sad. That's not good. That is a testament to how bad it is over there in PlayStation Studios. But never mind, Sony, they got enough problems of their own. You're here for one thing and one thing only, salt, so I'm about to give it to you. But quick reminder, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, what the f are you doing? Get us to 73K subs. Or if you're not a fan of this channel in general, well, go check out Fertenga Says. Maybe there's something there for you. We appreciate you very much here. Well, that's what my producer told me to say. Anyway, on with the salt.
Xbox fans, keep Concord out of their mouths. For real.
What are you gonna do about it? Huh?
Yeah, more like you need to keep Sony's cock out of your mouth. That's really what has to happen here. What he really means to say is, please leave Concord alone. It's a PlayStation game. Have mercy on it. And I will answer,
No.
Because it's a PlayStation title, we're going to roast it a little harder. After all, we're supposed to hold Sony to higher standards, so when they fail, the roasts are supposed to be twice as hard. No? I mean, is that how that works? Or are we supposed to give Sony mercy for yet another multiplayer bomb? The sheer lunacy, I mean, by God, at its most dead, Halo Infinite was more active than Concord at its peak. The majority of video games are more successful than Concord, and it had the financial backing of $1 billion corporation. I would play Halo Infinite any day of the week over Concord. It's not like, you don't even have to make me pick. I will be insulted if you had me choose. Do yourself a favor. If you want to play anything like Concord, but done right, why don't you go download Deadlock? A far better experience with way more players and a brighter future. I only bring in Halo Infinite because if Concord's being made fun of course they got a console war to defend it. Of course they gotta bring in Halo Infinite, but it's not doing them any favors. Halo Infinite peaked at 256,000 concurrent players, while Concord could barely break 1,000 alone. Why this person chose to humiliate the PlayStation game even more by doing this is beyond me, but PlayStation fanboys don't think. They just cry, they just bitch, and they just whine. I have seen games from 20 years ago have a higher player count currently over Concord. This game doesn't stand a f***ing chance. And apparently, as I'm reading, it was 8 years in development with over $100 million. Now, obviously, the game wasn't in 8 years of actual development. It was more than likely a concept 8 years ago and put into development less than maybe 3 years ago. That's my best guess. And that would make a lot more sense because the concept of Concord may have actually worked a bit 8 years ago. But in 2024, people have a bajillion Overwatch clones to pick from. And most of them are better than actual Overwatch. So why are they gonna pick your game? And why are you gonna compare it to Halo Infinite, which isn't even the same genre? Whatever though, I mean, if you wanna put out this tweet and pay for my next vacation, be my guest. Thank you.
Better than Overwatch. Despite initial reception, fans are loving Concord.
Can you guess what website this is? Dual Shockers! Oh my god! Wow, imagine my shock. The PlayStation website absolutely adores Concord. Ooh, what a surprise. Now it all makes sense how The Last of Us 2 was so critically acclaimed when it was despised by the majority of gamers. It's because of websites like this, the pro PlayStation websites, that always hand out high scores to these titles. It puts into question the legitimacy of how good PlayStation games actually are. When a sea of 10 out of 10s comes from PlayStation dedicated websites, you know it's absolute bullshit. Fans, what fans are loving Concord? The 600, where half of them may be PlayStation developers and the other half are the handful of PlayStation fanboys you see on Twitter like Woolly Gamer. People have tried very hard to defend this game and stick up for it, but there's nothing to stick up for. If it was a 10 out of 10 masked as an Overwatch clone, sure, but it's not that. Not at all. It is a very shallow, empty, soulless experience meant to fulfill every ESG checkmark. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony is using this entire project as a tax refund.
Hey yo, this game should be free to play. $40 is too much to ask for this game's genre. Then they play a free to play game, buy skins for $60 to $100. Love. What the fuck is going on here in this community? You sent more money in a week to play a free to play game than $40.
70 was too much. Now 40 is too much. Maybe they need a hobby they can, afford.
This 100. What a bunch of fucking f***its. Oh my god. They are legitimately upset there are people who don't want to pay $40 for this slop and are instead angry people who are playing much better free-to-play games and spending money on things they want there. I'm sorry, but a skin in Call of Duty alone is worth more than the entirety of Concord. Now they're telling the PlayStation crowd who doesn't buy into this crap that they're not real PlayStation fans if they're complaining about the price. Shut the f*** up, all right? Your standards were much higher than this last generation. You guys are basically defending scraps at this point when you used to be given a full course meal. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Go get a different hobby if you can't afford Concord. You know what? Games like Concord make me want to pick up a new hobby. If this is the crap PlayStation wants the industry to be full of, I'm done. No thanks. You're right, maybe we should get a different hobby. A hobby where we don't pay $40 for games that will be dead in a month and most likely shut down in its first year. You guys don't think. You just consume if the PlayStation logo is on it. Consume. Oh, look, the PlayStation logo, Sony. Consume. Yeah, well, if this game was an Xbox title, you would be telling a whole different story right now, each and every one of you, and don't pretend like you wouldn't, because you absolutely would. Had Concord been an Xbox title, we wouldn't hear the end of it. If they're still talking about Redfall to this day, imagine what they will be saying about Concord 5 years later. When they're on the receiving end of a massive L, it's somehow a monumental W. That's how the psychology with these guys works. 12 maps, 16 characters, 6 modes, no paid battle pass, strong roadmap, absolute quality, hashtag Concord, hashtag PS5. 12 maps, 16 characters, 6 modes, no paid battle pass, and only 600 concurrent players. Woohoo! Yeah! It must be bad at PlayStation right now. If this is what they have to play for a multiplayer game, they are so screwed. This has gotta be the most pathetic PlayStation generation of all time. It really says something when Wooly Gamer is one of the 600 people playing this game. You basically have to trick your brain into liking it in order to stay, which is exactly what he's done. He's highlighted the bare minimum. Maps, characters, modes, no battle passes. Well, this isn't the only game to do any of that. The quality is subjective, and I'm only saying that to be nice, okay? I don't really want to hurt your feelings that much. But right now, you can play any hero shooter with more content. Why would I want to do that, Frit? Well, that's because there's more players. You're not going to be stuck searching for a lobby. The problem with games like this being dead is how hard it is to get into a match and how often you'll be put against the same people. Shit like that kills a multiplayer game. If there is no one there at launch, it's a sign of how quick it will die. Very few games ever make a comeback story. This isn't one of them. But don't you love it how he's plugging in Concord like he got paid to promote it? I mean, the way he's even typing it out. It's like it's supposed to be a goddamn ad for the game. This man is not paid by PlayStation. So why does he devote his life to promoting their products? I don't understand these guys. It's like the same with the Xbox-centric channels. Like, why do you brand yourself after a brand? I would get it if you're a spokesperson who's paid, but you're just a fucking nerd on the internet. Why are you trying to sell Concord to people? I mean, there's more people who liked your tweet than people who were playing Concord at the moment you wrote it. That's fucking pathetic. Get a grip of yourself, pony. There. You're not yourself when you're not slapped.
Sony-owned studio Firewalk may have spent 8 years on a dud, but to be fair, Microsoft spent 25 years on Xbox and ended up a dud. Is this about even or nah?
Yeah, no, J-Dub, it's not even at all. The Xbox brand is still here. Concord may not be next month. Hell, Firewalk Studios, who PlayStation brought back from the dead, may not be alive anymore themselves when this is all said and done. Xbox will continue to coexist as a fucking stick you put in your TV or something. But Concord, yeah, no, Concord is done. You may prepare a funeral for it now. You can go ahead and arrange the wake, J-Dub. I know how much a PlayStation game means to you. My God, I'm hanging this tweet on my fridge, and I'm serious. I'm hanging this one on my fridge. That way, when I get older, my kids start hanging their art up on the fridge. When I have some, they'll be able to ask me, Dad, who's this fucking retard? And I'll have a nice story to tell them.
Review Concord PS5 live service debut beats the hate with stellar presentation and good gameplay.
Another PlayStation-centric website praising Concord. Imagine my shock. Whoa, who could have seen that coming? Not me. What do you mean beats the hate? It didn't even beat the allegations. All right, well, if you think that's bad, imagine what the developers must think themselves. Imagine what they must want to say in response to all the criticisms of their failure. Well, you don't have to imagine because they opened their mouths and everybody out there saw it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, I'm referring to this.
It's Concord release day. So insanely proud of the team and what they and we have accomplished. A labor of love like nothing else. Been playing it so much since early access. Started a few days ago and I'm so excited for it to be available to everyone. And I'm so honored to have had this be my first AAA game. Was a huge learning experience. Lots of struggles, but I'm glad to have gone through them. Time to play.
I'm so sorry this has to be your first. I do not believe it is you or any of the other devs' fault that this game has performed so poorly. I can tell that a lot of effort was put into completing this game. It just came at the wrong time and genre.
I don't really care. If it was a huge labor from a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game, why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? I'm sure having fun playing it and wouldn't trade it for anything.
Are you insinuating that the majority of the gaming community are just talentless freaks? Because that's who the majority criticizing the game are. That's the majority who are not playing it. It's so fucking pathetic and sad when the developers to the game are the only ones cheering on their own project and playing it and saying they liked it. Talentless freaks? I actually came to drop some positive criticism, but get fucked. Clearly based on the game, you're the one with no talent. I love it. The best part is it couldn't have happened to a better title. A PlayStation game. Yay! Oh, so this is what the ponies feel like when Xbox games fail and they get enjoyment out of it. That's what it feels like, huh? Well, I understand why you guys do it now. It's great. It gives you a rush. Real high. Potent stuff. And before any of you ask, yes, this developer uses pronouns. The fact that your game is trending on Twitter and people have tweets with tens of thousands of likes on it talking about your game, but your player count can't match up to that is insane. To have this many people talking about your game and have none of them playing it is not good. It means there will never be interest. And they desperately need the game to make money. I mean, desperately. You want to know how bad they need that money? That same developer calling the critics talentless nobodies and hacks went on to start hiding all the replies being critical of the game. And they replied to all of those tweets with this.
Pay me $8 to unhide your tweet.
Oh my God. This has got to be the most depressing launch of any video game in history. The developers are now begging for scraps on Twitter because nobody will pay $40 for their fucking woke trash and they know it. I think it's fair to say Sony does not have an eye for multiplayer. Let's face it, Xbox puts out better multiplayer games. There's just no going around it. Sony does not understand what gamers want. They don't understand what makes a multiplayer game good because they've been heavily relying on third party to carry them through that. Now when it comes time for them to invest their resources into making their own, this is what you get. And these are the developers you deal with. Excellent. Good job, Sony. You know what? Why don't you go ahead and try to make another 20 Concords, please? You know how much content I would have to cover if you did that? You know how many fanboys would be insanely salty and pretending to like it? That's the best part, is watching them cap for this, pretend to like it, because they don't have a choice. They've picked a team and they've devoted themselves to it. If Sony releases a shitty ass woke project, they gotta make sure they're there to support it and tell you how much better it is than Xbox. And all those woke journalists are gotta be there to cover up for the game and blame the gamers who don't want to buy it. And of course, you're gonna have the developers doing the exact same thing. This game deserves every single failure coming its way. PlayStation, do better. Like, what the fuck? Your loyal consumers who bought your console deserve way better than this, and don't you dare put something like this on PC ever again, or I will not buy a single PlayStation product. For the love of God, get it together. And like I said, like, comment, share, and subscribe if you so choose to. It was a salt buffet out here, and there's more on the way. See you later.
Afrikango sucks ass.